We are not lawyers, but we all have our opening statements when we meet a class for the first time. Think about what you say right now, and then I'll tell you how you're wrong.
Substitute Teachers Lounge.
All right, it is June 5th, 2022. We are on summer break. I started to play Alice Cooper this morning, if any of you all know who that is. That is a man, by the way, who had a rock career in the 70s into the 80s and had a song called School's Out. So go listen to it. Pretty upbeat type tune, kind of my era type music, good old rock and roll back in the day. During the summer, the 12 episodes during the summer, I'll make them shorter, about half the distance, because since school's not in session, I know it's harder to keep yourself motivated to listen to a full podcast, so I thought I'd just do like bullet points during the summer. The first of which is one I'm very excited about because I love my opening statement. And I think the reason I love it is that it's different from the majority of you in what you're doing. And I know that from the Substitute Teachers Lounge Facebook group page, because when comments like that come up, everybody talks about their opening statement. When they come into a fresh group of kids, what they say, everybody's sort of in agreement. And I said, I support you guys doing this. This is what works better for me. So what I'm going to do first is tell you what I suspect is the most popular opening statement with a new set of kids, and encourage you to feel free to stick with it if that's who you are. But I will also poke some holes in it a little bit as to why I don't use it, given what you expect to do if things don't go as you outlined. Now, first of all, on the extreme, I'll just throw this out in the beginning, and this is the not the most popular opening statement, but some substitute teachers walk in and pretty much lay down the law and tell the kids it's my way or the highway, in my opinion. And I think in the majority of your all's opinions, too, you lose those students when you do that. They hate having you come back. They don't want to work for you. In fact, you know how you were when you were a preteen and teenager? You might even think of ways to get under the substitute teacher's skin. So throw that out from the beginning. But probably the most popular opening statement, again, this is not mine, the most popular opening statement is to go in and pretty much lay out strictly what your expectations are out of them. You can even point out the ramifications if the students don't abide by what you're talking about. And you can do that in a nice way. You can say, listen, kid, you can say, we're going to get along great, but here's what you have to do today. There is no exception to these rules. Anytime you start out with a speech like that, think back to when you were in school. If you started out that way, that would lose a lot of students. A lot of students would not enjoy the class. The best students, and I shouldn't say the best students, most of the students will do the work. But if you come in and kind of lay out a scenario that appears negative, well, they're going to treat you negatively. And I will say this, if you lay out penalties for what's going to happen if they either don't behave or they don't do their work and they don't just act like you want them to act, you better carry through on those penalties, because if you don't, those students will take advantage of you more than any other situation you can come up with. So the most popular opening statement that's by substitute teachers is the one where you go in, you don't really lay down the law, but you say, all right, guys, here's the way it's going to be. You let them know you're in charge, kind of like an umpire. You let them know you're in charge. I don't like umpires like that. I like the umpires that when they walk away at the end of the game, everybody forgets they were even there because they don't try to show off in anything they're doing. Now, with all that in mind, that's not my personality. Even day one, my very first day of substitute teaching in November of 2018, here's what I did. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about going by my first name. I don't know if I would have done that in elementary school. I think I'll find out because this summer I'm going to try to get my motivation up and start doing a lot more. And if I do one day, it's going to be a lot more. But I'm going to try to do elementary school when we get back to August, in addition to middle school and high school. And I think it's because of all those grades. I love you guys. I love you high school students. I know a lot of you are listening. I still kind of like sixth grade as my favorite because it's a new year for them. They're still in kind of I don't want to say immature. That sounds like they act badly, but they're still kind of in a low maturity level, and you can help shape them. Here's what my opening statement sounds like to pretty much everybody, and no matter what age. I might word it a little bit differently, but the gist is the same. I'll walk in and I'll say, all right, guys, my name's Mr. Collins. You can call me Greg because I figure if we're going to spend an hour together, we may as well be on a first name basis. Now, here's what we'll do about discipline. I will trust you. I will trust you to do your work. I will trust you not to get out of hand. I am not going to tell you not to talk as long as you get your work done and don't disturb anybody else. But I will tell you, as long as you don't give me a reason not to trust you, we're going to get along great. I want to make the class fun. I want you to share your stories. I like to spend the last 5, maybe even 10 minutes, if you do a good job, you sharing stories with me. One thing I may do, and I hated this when teachers did this to me in school, but I understand why they do it now. If we're all working on something, let's say you get 5 minutes of free computer time, or you get 5 minutes of talk time as long as you don't get loud. Well, if one person does not abide by the rules during that time, everybody's going to have to be quiet for 5 minutes. And the reason being, sometimes when the teacher tells you to be quiet, you don't pay much attention. But when you know you're going to affect your classmates and they'll have to be quiet too, well, then you start maybe paying attention a little bit more. So that's what we'll do. You can call me by my first name. We'll have fun in class. If you misbehave, we might do a quiet time for 10 minutes. And if you talk during that quiet time, it's another 5 minutes. I want you to be able to share stories with me. I want you to tell me what's going on in your life. And to begin today, since I am new to most of you, I want you to ask me 5 questions, and I don't care what they are. I want you to get to know me. I might ask you a question, or I might just have you volunteer some information about yourself. So, who wants to ask me a question? All right, guys, that's basically my opening statement. Normally, that keeps them loose. That keeps them in the mind frame that they love having you come back. It's not strict. It's serious enough that they know they have to get the work done. I'm very laid back. I do know, I will remind you of a story I have shared with you before, that a teacher that I had subbed for, the second time I came in, she was actually scheduled for a meeting that day in the building. So she was there when I got there in the morning, and she said, you know what? She said, the kids really like you. I like to ask you back every time. She said, now I'll be honest, and this is a teacher that's probably going to be a principal someday. She knows how a school's supposed to be run. She said, when I hear that students really like a teacher, sometimes I'm worried or concerned because I'm afraid the sub is letting them get away with everything. But you didn't. They got their work done and they still enjoyed class. So I appreciate that. I love that that's how she felt about it. And this summer, work on your opening statement, whatever it is. If you want to be the big bad dog, that's you. If you want to be a teacher, substitute teacher, that they love coming to see you coming back, loosen up a little bit. Share some personal stories. Make them feel at home. Make them feel at ease in your classroom.